feel like I fought all my life for this. This one part, this one third I've always missed. No, just don't let it go. I started the fight, but now I'm losing. So will I fall again? I'm scared of heights, yet it was me who ran away. Oh, I can't forget myself. The peace that I'm missing, it kills me inside. I need help, oh please give me back. This one part, this one third, I'm sorry I lost it. No, I let my weapons fall. I'm drowning in the fears, and now I know that I will fall again and let it go, but I can't stop to run
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to season 2 of You Are TikTalk, where we will meet various speakers who will share with us their thoughts, their opinions on topics, on issues that is pertaining to our life today and also for our future. So my name is Tara and I'm your moderator for today. So, everybody, those of you who are watching from Instagram, from YouTube, from Facebook, welcome and thank you for spending 60 minutes of your time with us. Please grab a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, get yourself comfortable because we really would love for you to enjoy this next 60 minutes with us. And also, if you have any questions, any comments, or if you just like to say hi to the speakers, you just like to wave to us, to show us that you're here, please do so in the comment sections below or on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, right? We would definitely love to hear from you today. And also, if you can, please subscribe to our channel. That would really be great. And you will definitely be in touch with what's happening in the Razak universe. So thank you again for being here with us. So, friends, we are entering the first anniversary since MCO in March 18, 2020 to be exact. This will be the first anniversary of Malaysia's MCO for the pandemic COVID-19. And since then, a lot has changed in Malaysia and all around the world. I'm sure those of you who are at home, you have your own stories to share, your own experiences, that you'll never forget, whether it is on a personal basis, on health-wise, whether it's on your school or your businesses. So everyone has got a story to share. It's definitely a story to remember forever. But, talking about businesses, and our topic for today is, should the government intervene in how we do our business? That is the topic for today. And because of this question, why we're asking this question is because the world has been impacted, Malaysia has been impacted. And this is mostly due, to the demand, supply, the financial shock that has happened, especially during the lockdowns, where people and businesses cannot move. Hence, many people, many businesses, entrepreneurs, etc., whoever, everyone that's been hit, they call for help. They are asking for help. Many believe that the right government intervention and scheme is needed or are needed to promote government growth and also to help business to sustain by producing new growth, new businesses, new services for consumers. And that is the question that we want to ask us. We want to ask you and the speakers today. Should the government intervene in how we do our business? And we will have our speakers, who I will introduce to you later, to share their thoughts and their opinions. But before we do that, let's watch a quick video by Razak. Welcome back, everybody, and I hope you enjoyed that quick video about Uniraza. As you can see, we have very exciting, beautiful people at Uniraza, and these people, they are real people. They are not models, they are not hired people to make a beautiful cover for a video. But of course, I think they are just as beautiful as models, even better. So today, let me introduce to you our speakers. As you can see, we have two speakers who are currently available. Our third speaker I think he's having some technical problems, but don't worry, I'm sure he'll be back very soon. Let me first introduce you our first speaker, and our first speaker is Professor Dr. Nik Rosnah. She is the Program Director at Tun Abdul Razak School of Government, also known as TARSOG, because the name Tun Abdul Razak School of Government is a little bit long for us to pronounce every single time. Let me introduce Prof first, all right? So Prof. Nik Rosnah holds a doctorate in philosophy, a PhD from Sussex University, UK. She was a recipient of the British Scholar Award and later the coveted Fulbright Scholar Award. She holds several distinguished fellowships, Senior International Fellow at Johns Hopkins University in the US, and Senior Fellow at Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy in NUS, Singapore. And Prof's areas of expertise include governance, public policy, public sector forum, and regulatory reform in the health sector. Currently, she is a professor at Tun Abdul Razak School of Government, TARSOG, and a member of the International Development of Public Policy Alliance, whose headquarters is in New York City. Welcome, Prof. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm fine. I'm good, Tara. Thank you.
Very nice to see you today.
Thank you to you too.
Thank you. All right, and the second speaker I'm so happy to introduce to you is Miss Lysaiyeni Palaniappan. Okay, so maybe we can call you Lisa, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so Miss Lisa is a student at Uniraza under the School of TARSOG, others TARSOG also. She's doing a Bachelor of Arts in Government and Public Policy. She is an undergraduate and currently in her second year at Uniraza. She is also a very active student and works as a public relations officer for the Uniraza Student Representative Council. So, Lisa, welcome to our UR TikTok today. How are you feeling?
Hi, Sarah, and hi, Prof. Nik. I'm feeling happy and at the same time quite nervous.
Okay, all right, good. And oh yes, welcome, Megat. All right, so let me introduce you our other speaker. Our third speaker is Mr. Megat Firdauz Putra. Can I call you Megat? Is it all right? Yeah. Let me introduce to you Megat. Megat is our Uniraza alumni with a Bachelor of Arts in the Government and Public Policy. As a student, he was actively involved in Uniraza Toastmasters Club and as well as an EXCO member of the Lecton KL Toastmasters Club. So he is a very active student in Uniraza. And welcome, Megat. How are you today? I think we're having a slight technical difficulty, but it's all right. Maybe we can go to the first question. All right, so the first question here today, and this question is for Prof. Nik. And everybody, just to remind you, if you have any questions and comments, you'd like to say hi to our speakers today, please comment below whatever platform you are, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and please enjoy yourself. All right, so this is for Prof. Nik. Prof. Nik, can you tell us first of all, how do we define intervention in this context, and should the government intervene on how we do businesses? Prof. Nik, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Tara. Good afternoon, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Let me just, before I go to your question, Tara, let me just give you a background, that there is a key debate on this matter, Should government intervene in how we do business? On one hand, the economists argue that the government should not have an active role in the economy and that it should strictly limit its intervention to only providing the most basic services such as the protection of private property, the maintenance of law and order. They argue that if the government intervene in how we do business, it will have a negative impact in the economy. That's one extreme. On the other there is an argument that there is a strong case for government to intervene in the way we do our business. In fact, in all areas of the economy, to ensure the most efficient and equitable distribution of resources. Yeah? So in between, because these are two extreme views, so in between, most economists believe it is a question of balance, with the government intervening in areas where the market fails to provide a desirable outcome. But again, there is a continuing debate about how much government regulation is necessary for business. Yeah, and you ask me what is regulation? What is regulation? It's about control. Yeah, so those who want less regulation argue that if you remove government restrictions, the free market will force businesses to protect consumers, to provide superior products and services, and create affordable prices for everyone. They believe that the government is inefficient because of its bloated bureaucracy, and that will increase the cost of doing business for everyone. And of course, this is associated with government taxes, regulations. Those who argue that government regulations are necessary to protect consumers, the environment, and the general public, they claim that businesses, be it small or big corporations, they're not looking out for the public's interest. They are there only for profit. And that is precisely this reason that the government intervention are required. So I will stop at that first, Tara.
Thank you, Prof. That's really interesting, where we talk about there needs to be a balance, right? There has to be a balance. And of course, everybody will have their say, because not everyone can read and have a lifetime of understanding economics and how the business world and how economics and how policy works. But for you, on a personal note, what does balance look like when it comes to business and government intervention? Prof.
Tara, I would like to address that sometime later because I want to hear the rest. Then I can tie it together. All right, thank you.
Wonderful, great, that's wonderful. All right, so maybe we can go next to Miss Lisa. Lisa, I know you a little bit. I met you I met you for a few times before the lockdown when you first entered as our student. And I remember closely that your family actually owns a business, right? They are business owners themselves. Is that right, Lisa?
Yes.
Yeah, your family is business owners themselves, so you actually, have a little bit of experience, with the government and doing business as a family. So, what do you think would happen if the government do not intervene in the way private business operate? What do you think will happen? What is your opinion?
Okay. Generally, even with constant monitoring and regulation, we still face a lot of pros and cons. But what if government do not intervene? Of course, there will be more consequences where many businesses tend to be operating in unethical manners in order to reap high profits. Like I said, unethical manner, like we frequently face produce low quality and unsafe products, and also abuse the power they got, whereby can lead to misuse of monopoly power. And also, when I mentioned the produce low quality and unsafe products, I think we are way more familiar with this fake branded items such as skincare, cosmetics, with cheaper price. And also, this kind of companies, they tend to use deceptive sales in order to promote their products and also gain customer base. But in the long run, it can affect our skin, our health, and it can cause a lot of pollution as well. And if we go for abuse of the power, which lead to misuse of monopoly of power, it leads to unstabilized price if the government do not intervene in the in private businesses. For example, our essential kind of things like rice, flour, gas, this kind of items are controlled by the government. What if the government do not intervene? of course the private company will take place and they will set higher price compared to the standard price. Maybe we can buy the 10 kg of rice for 30 bucks or 45 bucks, way more expensive. And how consumer gonna buy that? It's gonna affect us as well. And if this in a long run, this can lead to allocative inefficiency and a decline in a consumer welfare. For example, like last year, when the first hit of coronavirus, everyone tend to buy masks. However, seller tend to sell it with quite higher price. Even myself, I bought it for 200 bucks for 50 piece of mask. It's very more expensive. Hence, this will be given too much freedom to decide on the prices and salary and so on. In the long run, it can cause inequality and impact to the economy. That's all.
Very well spoken. Thank you so much. Well spoken. And it's interesting that you actually spent 200 ringgit for 50 masks. And just want a quick question. How much do you pay for a mask now?
Right now, I think like few months back, government announced it 1 ringgit per mask. I think recently they announced it like 50 cents to 70 cents per mask. So that's how the government took initiative to reduce the price. Because depends on the quality and the price that we have to pay for it, like supply and demand. And
Wonderful.
like as in Malaysia, we are always familiar with all of this unethical manner, and not to forget that unethical manner also can lead to pollution. Like recently, those who are staying in Selangor, like me, Selangorian, face water disruption because the Selangor River polluted due to high chemical residue. And then from there, government take initiative to give a severe punishment like arresting those criminals and impose a punishment. So this will be a great lesson to those who polluting in the name of business, because we need nature.
Yes, thank you, definitely. And Megat, welcome. I hope you can hear us. Can you hear us clearly? Yes?
Yeah, loud and clear.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so Megat, the question that I would like to ask you, of course, should business intervene? But let's focus on the government. Is government regulation needed in business? Based on maybe what you have learned and based on your experience, what do you think?
Okay, thank you for the question. Personally, for me, I'm a person who believes that yes, government intervention is necessary, because of course, three main reasons why that I'm going to address today. First and foremost is probably going to be when it comes to environmental exploitation. So of course, without any government control towards it or any government regulation, the free market is gonna do whatever it can to reap all the profits, even if it affects the environment, because the free market often ignores these what we call externalities. So the free market, the moment it creates products of all sorts, it could start producing these negative externalities, as I mentioned. Things like carbon footprint, carbon emission, like smoke, pollution, water pollution, air pollution, all those things. And it could also damage the ecosystem, like the fauna and the flora, like the marine life, as you can see right now. The dumping of oil has significantly affected the marine life to the point where we can't even use plastic straws because there's too much plastic in the world. So the moment government intervenes on this, it is able to, I guess, keep a really big lookout on these matters and provide policies, provide solutions, and even to give a type of punishment to these private companies. Now, the second reason is, of course, in regards to how, with government intervention, it will be able to, for us, we will be provided with public goods that are really not supplied in the free market. Something as simple as public transportation, right? LRT, MRT, KTM. Now, all these things are, at the time, not really provided by the free market, right? By these private investors. They are given by the government. And these private companies often neglect public goods because there is no what we call financial incentive. So if the government provides it, then it would be beneficial for everyone. Doesn't matter of class, doesn't matter of financial status, race, religion. Everyone is able to use it equally. So that's the second reason. And the final reason is in regards to how I think the previous speaker mentioned something that I found really interesting: supply and demand. Something as I'm going to relate to that in regards to how the government intervention helps shift the consumer behavior. So something as simple as, I'll give an example, like smoking, right? Cigarettes. So I believe that, as everyone here is aware, that the cigarette tax is extremely high. And the reason why this is so is because to help shift. It's a psychological term. It's a psychological thing where the higher the prices, the less likely people are going to buy it. So if people continue to buy, if the demand is still high, then the tax is most likely to increase. The moment the demand decreases, but that's usually the case. So yeah, those are my 3 reasons as to why I think government regulation is necessary in a business.
All right, great to hear from you, Megat. It's interesting that you said that one way the government is regulating or intervening is, by putting things at a higher price, because the higher the price is, we hope that, less people, especially things like cigarettes, less people would be interested or, would tend to smoke. But what do you think, about things such as luxury goods, because the higher the thing is, sometimes the more in demand it becomes. Is there, especially someone who's young, like all of you, both of you are young students, and you have a lot of needs, in the future, like I want to get that car, I want to get that fancy handbag, I want to eat in that fancy restaurant, what do you think? Is there a special need for people who say, what, price doesn't matter, it's as high as it goes, it's a lifestyle that I'm looking for. What do you think about that, Megat?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think especially around our age, about the millennials and the Gen Zs, they often really don't care about the pricing. Even if Starbucks are cost like 20 ringgit per cup.
Yes.
I think with luxury goods, it's the name itself describes what it is. It's a luxurious product. So it's less likely for it to ever decrease in price, unless there is a economic downfall. Then there's most likely discounts you'll see everywhere, like what you see in COVID.
All right, so I think that we have All right, so thank you. Great, yeah. So, as millennials, I definitely see people drinking 20 ringgit coffees. Prof Nick, do you do that, 20 ringgit coffees?
No.
No, not at all? Are you sure?
No, it's hard-earned cash. Okay.
It's hard-earned cash, yeah. But I'm sure you have something that, that's a little bit for you, right? A little bit for yourself. Before we continue with the next question, I'd just like to remind our viewers today, wherever platform you're at, please comment, say hi to us. Just now earlier, there were a few people who said hi already, So far, I don't think we have any questions yet, but if we do have questions, then we'll definitely ask the speakers that, all right? Let's go back to Prof Nick. Prof Nick, my next question is this. If the government should or would intervene in the way we do business, what is its role and how does it do it?
Thank you, Tara. You're asking me the question. There are 2 parts to that. What are the role and how does it do it? So let me just address your first part of the question. The government intervenes in business practices as a means of controlling and regulate the way business operate against each other to prevent socially undesirable business activities and also to provide social justice. So yes, it plays the role of a regulator. So although the markets remain the dominant form of economic The government.
I'm so sorry. I think that we have a slight technical difficulty. It's hanging right now. Maybe we'll get back to Prof. Nick in a few minutes. Let's maybe go to Miss Lisa. Lisa?
Yes.
Or is it? Let me check. Let me just find out if we're going to get Prof. Nick back online with us. Okay. I think there is still a slight technical problem. Prof. Nick, are you back with us? Hello, Prof. Nick, are you back with us?
I can, Tara.
Sorry.
I can hear you.
Oh.
Can you hear me?
All right, great. Now we can hear you because just now there was a slight disruption. We could not hear you. Maybe you could maybe just go back to the few minutes before the disruption, the technical.
Okay. I was saying that the government can wield some power over the market. Because it has its power, it does this because it has power over resources, that it can provide public goods, which Megat was saying just now, that some of these public goods are not provided by the private providers because there's no profit to add and there's no incentives. And also the government can monitor production and it can create incentives, as what Megat and Lisa was saying, for private providers or for the consumers to behave in. It also has its legislative power that it can impose rules and regulation, and not only that, it can also punish those who do not comply, so that it can protect the safety for everyone. And most important is it has the power to ensure that these private providers are accountable. So in essence, the government can contain these social cleavages that are created by the market inequalities. So coming back to the second part of your question, Tara, how does the government do it? Well, with those powers, the roles of the government are grouped into two categories. One is the regulatory governance, and the other is the promotional or the development roles. But for this evening, because we are talking about where the government intervene in business, so we will discuss more on the regulatory governance. The other promotional development are those for the government to involve for the progress of the economy, for example, the 5-year plan and all those, and the new economic policy, the famous NEP. So we're not going to discuss that. We're going to look at the regulatory governance, which refers to the use of rules, standard setting, monitoring, and sanctioning to intervene in this, to help the government to intervene in business activities. And these measures are required to encourage businesses to work ethically for the benefit of the society and the economy. But managing the economy is quite different than managing the businesses. So for the purpose of this talk, we will delve more into this, the regulatory measures that the government use. One is through the licensing policies. Example, if you want to build a hospital, you need to have a license to ensure that safety requirements are adhered to. Similarly, if someone wants to become a medical professional, for example, he or she needs to be licensed. Otherwise, anyone can claim he or she is a doctor and treating patients without the necessary qualifications that may result in death of patient. Similarly, the university, private universities, to open a private university, you need to have license. If without it, it can be it can land the private providers in court. And then also the government has these policies that's related to taxation and incentives. As Megat aptly rightly mentioned, it's to shape or to shape the behavior so that society take care of their health. The sin tax, for example, to discourage smoking. Of course, it's painful to both parties, to the business because tax is high, but it's also to take care of the society. And there are also tax incentives to promote investment, regulation, ease of doing business, adoption of international standards to improve goods and services. And in crisis that we are now, the government provide handsome stimulus packages worth more than 300 billion in less than a year beginning March 2020. This is to reduce the economic burden of the rakyat and also to help the business to stay afloat through initiatives namely Prihatin, Penjana and the latest Perma and all those. And another important also for employees like us, policies that's related to income and wages. One example that I can think of is minimum wages for workers. Of course, there are other industrial safety and environment policies, and the most recent, the Competition Act of 2010 to promote and protect competition and also to protect consumers' interests. But what I'm trying to say is that apart from these incentives, of course, some of these regulatory measures can be restrictive to business. For example, the policy of minimum wages that I mentioned just now, it leads to higher wage rate as compared to prevailing rate in the competitive market. But the purpose of minimum wages is to protect all workers who are employed against unduly pay. Without such protection, workers will be vulnerable to private businesses who wants to get something for nothing. But be mindful, because sometimes government too can make wrong decisions and can fail to achieve socially efficient allocation of resources. One example is the direct fuel subsidy, which is meant to help the poor groups, particularly during this crude oil price increase. But the subsidy was widely accessible to all income groups, so this incurred public spending a lot. I do not have the latest figure, but in 2011 alone, it cost 16 billion ringgit worth of fuel subsidy. As compared to the year before that, in 2010, it was 9.6 billion. So you see the big difference there. The significant increase over the years is placing pressure on government finance, and this can result in waste of public resources and also a denial of access to these services by those who are genuinely in need. And so I say just now that markets can fail. You might ask, why? Because regulatory governance also has its challenges. More so, the scope of regulatory governance has expanded considerably over the years in response to privatization and also changing time. First, the enforcement rules and monitoring. How diligent are those rules enforced? How are they enforced? Are they monitored? Also, we hear this a lot, questions of legitimacy and accountability. We often hear corruption cases of public officials while managing their financial responsibilities. Another is that these regulatory responsibilities are so dispersed now because of the expanded scope. And so there are issues of coordination, incoherence between regulators. And also, and another important one is the lobbying by the powerful private businesses. The personalistic relationships between the government bureaucrats and the businessman, the regulator and the regulatee, such that the regulator is captured by the regulatee. They call it regulator capture, meaning that they are bought by the regulatee or by the business. And of course, as happened, the lack of competence to regulate the business. Okay. Another important one that I want to highlight is the information asymmetry. Information of a business rests with this can retard decisions by the regulator or by the bureaucrats. Okay, but just let me sum up that even in societies that are highly market-oriented as in the US, only the government can, one, it provide rules to make business work efficiently and ethically, and two, make corrective interventions when markets fail. I stop at that.
Right, great. That's really interesting, Prof. Nick. Talking about how actually, government do make mistakes. It is a living thing. Results and outcome is not necessarily how we imagine to it. It might not appear as how research says it's supposed to happen. And it takes time. Sometimes a certain policy, a certain regulation takes time to finally come to the desired outcome. Maybe we'll go on to Lisa. Lisa, can I ask you a question? Oh, someone here. There's many people who said hi. Let's just read a few of the people here. It says, great speakers, Lisa and Megat, both future leaders and policy makers. We missed a few one earlier. Can we go back to the previous one? Go Megat by Cheryl. I think this is, okay, I don't know who's that. And anybody else who said hi? Oh yes, Agilas Wari agreed with Prof. We have a lot of followers and viewers here today. So you all should be so happy watching your friends. Okay, so let's go to Lisa. So Lisa, you've heard what Prof. Nick said just now, about how government intervention is important, how it is necessary not only to protect the government and the country, but also to protect the people and the citizens of a particular country. In your point of view, what are the advantages of government intervening in the economy? Lisa?
Thank you, Ms. Tara. I would like to say that one of the advantage when government intervening in the economy is that even income distribution and that poor people can get help. For example, if you take Selangor State, they came up with program Bantuan Blueprint Pembasmian Kemiskinan. This to standardize the economy through the Selangorians' welfare, and also to overcome the poverty in Selangor State. And surprisingly, not only Selangor State, even other states are making effort in order to overcome this poverty, so that every class of citizens able to get and deserve what they want through economic as well. And apart from that, will be not social injustice. For example, the rights of consumer will be taken care of. When the government intervene in the economy, the prices will be set normal, like standardized. So none of the consumer have to feel like sabotage or feel isolated that they are paying more than other person. And apart from that, the goods and services like education and healthcare will be provided for all and not just based on race or religion or any kind of things. I mean, people who only can afford pay. Like for example, only rich people can able to get a proper education and healthcare. However, like I'll take an example from our country, our government, where they provided free education, which is primary school and secondary. We are getting free. And now, Prasekolah, kindergarten in government itself, they're giving us free as well. And when we look at healthcare, they are providing us the first class of healthcare. Even anyone can able to pay RM1 ringgit for government clinic. So it is proven that our government, like they are making a high effort and standardizing everything in the name of equity. So which is every person able to enjoy the country's nutritious and everything. And also, the class of people B40 and M40 need some form of support from the government. As like the recent one, last year 2020, during the first phase of MCO, our Prime Minister allocated Bantuan Sara Hidup for those who need it. Because for the 3 months, everyone have to be in home. Some of us like literally have no job, there's no such thing work from home. So this Bantuan Sara Hidup literally saved their life. And when we look at for general public, also will be ensure that goods and services are produced as promised and as the business claims also, not the fake one or substandard. That is why KKM nowadays are very more restricting, which is they only taking a good products with high quality ingredients so that our nation people have to enjoy it and not to suffer in the long run. And I want to take this moment and I want to elaborate some of the initiatives that our government giving to us. Like, for example, the Ministry of Belia Persekutuan, they're giving free license for young entrepreneurs to start business until 31st July this year. It's so free. So they are encouraging us to do business. Because due to the pandemic, most of us like lost our jobs. Like as we know, the fresh graduates even they are in the under dean list, they don't even have a job, but they tend to come up with their own business, like selling nasi lemak for RM1 ringgit. So for this kind of youngsters, government coming up with this kind of initiative to encourage and boost their self-esteem. And apart from that, like another one, that GLC and GLIC, which is government-related company, funding around 150 million for Tabung Cerdik in order to buy laptops for 150 million students for 500 schools which is selected. So this shows that government really taking serious issues in our lives, because usually people say, oh, government not doing this and that, but actually we are not keeping up with what's the government's current news updates. This is all the updates that I think from this platform everyone able to know what the government really doing for us through this economy. Even though our economy a bit like down, but then government still like giving us the best out of best. And apart from that, government also allocated 100 million for scheme pinjaman computer riba to those who are taking PTPTN loan. Because since like most of us adapting like online classes, so some of us could afford laptop, but some of us could not afford laptop. So government coming up with this kind of initiatives in a long run period, because another few years everything going to be online. So this will be a good platform for all the students and also government's entire thing. And also, like I would like to mention that when I say that even income distribution and also equality, that our government do provide free breakfast for poor kids from poor family in certain schools, and it's still going on. I think that's all. And yeah.
Great to hear that, Lisa. It's very I think that a lot of the times, because we are all so bubble wrapped in our own world, in our day-to-day life, that we actually forgot that a lot of stimulus has helped the people who really needs the help. It has helped people who are actually suffering. Like for us, we are lucky. We live in a city where internet is great. Even before the lockdown happened, I'm sure all of us had at least one laptop at home. Most family has got at least 2 or 3 laptops at home. But there are some families, in the rural parts, especially those from the poor income, where having a laptop is actually a luxury, because they depend on the students' schools, computer labs and things like that. So yeah, it's great, great to hear your point of view, Lisa. Thank you so much.
And also,
let's go
to add that like those who are watching right now, please take initiative, at least spend 5 minutes, go through every state of ministries, go through what are their initiatives, what are the schemes they're giving, so it's able for you to know. I'm sure that some of us doesn't know that KL people can get free license for their business. I think now you know. So those who are doing business without license, you think you couldn't afford, you can apply. And for Slangorian, I will say go to the Slangor website. There are literally like a lot of initiatives they're giving. So every day we are spend 5 minutes in Netflix. I mean, not 5 minutes, more than that. And 5 minutes. Take at least 5 to 10 minutes. Go through the scheme, and then you can get the advantage, and also you can share to someone who really need out there. Because we are seeing like a lot of fresh graduates over there who have nothing. They literally suffering. They end up they are selling this. They thought this is the life. It is not the life. Government is already providing the first step for every one of us. So I would kindly like to advise that grab it and use it. And for those who are in KL, just use it. The free license is until 31st July 2021.
Oh, all right, great. Thank you, Lisa. That's amazing. I know I did not even know that myself, but great. I'm sure that it has benefited those who are listening to us today. Let's go to Megat. So Megat, you studied government and policy, and I think that you are a recent graduate, right? Yes. So I'm not sure what's your business background, whether you have a business or your family comes from business. But do you think, like for example, some of the intervention that the government has put in place, like what Lisa has mentioned, do you think that it is effective so far? If yes, maybe you can share with us 1 or 2 intervention or schemes that you think has been effective for the people.
Okay. Well, I think Hello?
Yes.
Oh yeah, okay. So I agree with Lisa has mentioned just now. There are a lot of stimulus packages, a lot of programs that the government has provided. But as well, we should also take into take note on these drawbacks that the government intervention has caused. So of course, I think what Prof. Nick has mentioned, there are pros and there are definitely cons for government intervention. And I just like to name a few. That's fine. I've noticed a very simple one is probably in regards to when there is government intervention in the economy. It is often associated with the less choice in the market. Something as simple as how do I put this? Okay, yeah. So the government has provided less choices if it intervenes. So, for instances like public transport, sure, they are a great necessity, a great public service. However, since we only have one option, sometimes if an LRT or a KTM is severely damaged or it takes quite a long time to arrive, we can't go to a different option unless, you know, we take Grab, so to say. But Grab is much more expensive than LRT and KTM, so it often leaves us with often less or just one choice. Now, the second drawback is, of course, sometimes it could also lead to a government failure, just like market failure. Now, a government failure is pretty much like if a government makes a decision, makes a policy or solution for a short-term benefit, it might create a new problem, a slightly bigger problem than what it initially faces. I think we are all aware during the pandemic, as soon as the third wave hit, the second wave, there was an economic shutdown, and I guess you could say it went smooth. You know, unemployment skyrocketed, but then the third wave happened. A similar thing happened. The economic wasn't doing so good, but in this drawback, the government really doesn't really intervene that much. So, for instances, during this whole third wave, there wasn't really much of a awareness in regards to what we call the COVID vaccine. Of course, the government does bring up a lot of information that is necessary, but of course, awareness and information doesn't really persuade people that much. Just like, you know, law, like we need a proper vaccine law that actually enforces people to take these vaccines, because right now, especially the blue collar workers, they are not given the opportunity to be vaccinated. Thus, that's why you notice in the third wave, a lot of the factory workers, the statistics skyrocketed when it comes to positive COVID-19 patients. And of course, with the whole MCO, it also had a snowball effect. It also affected education. Earlier on, I went to a CSR program and provided a few tabs, like a Samsung tab, to the B40s near Kuala Lumpur, rural areas, near the PPR communities. And it was pretty adamant that, we are moving towards a new technological era. There are, online learning, online teaching, and all that. But B40 communities were not given the proper opportunity to test that out because, they don't have the proper gadgets. Sometimes even phones or laptops. I found out there was a MOE survey that was conducted recently that I believe 900,000 children, only 6% had laptops, 5% had tabs, and only I think 40 to 50% of them had phones, and those phones don't even have cameras that they could look at. But of course, aside from all of these drawbacks, without any government intervention, there may be a wider social gap between the rich and the poor. I think a very, very simple example of this is what you can see in Kuala Lumpur and even in Penang, where the housing prices are so expensive to the point where even M4E communities can't even buy them to a certain level. Sure, there are PPR housing, but it's not really managed quite well. It depends on certain daerah, certain areas. So if the government manages to intervene, then it will definitely help curb this problem. So I guess my final takeaway is that yes, government intervention is very effective, but at times the government should only facilitate business instead of doing business. I believe that as long as it's supposed to be like a balance, they should check and balance to those parties, both the government and the business. So I think that's going to be it for me.
Great. That's very interesting point of view about that. Maybe we'll go to Prof. Nick right now. Oh, but before we go to Prof. Nick, I think that we have a question from our viewer today. Can we have the question, please? So the question here is by Shri M. So let's read the question first, and we'll see who would like to address the question. Can government intervention into private business be harmful, especially to SMEs in the long run? All right, let me go for the question one more time. Can government intervention into private businesses be harmful, especially to SMEs in the long run? Prof. Nick or Lisa or Megat, would you like to try to answer that?
Yeah, I can try. Thank you, Shri, for the question. Can the government intervention into private businesses be harmful, especially in the long run? For me, my take is that the government intervention is needed, except that it has to strike a balance, which if you see now under this crisis also, government is trying to strike a balance between taking care of the rakyat and also to make sure that business stay afloat. So that's a balancing act. And in the long run, I think it cannot be that, because regulation needs to be there. Intervention needs to be there to make sure that the business and the consumers' interests are taken care of. That's my. It cannot be. I do believe that government intervention into private businesses is okay, even in the long run.
Right. Great. Good response, Prof. Nick. Would any one of you like to respond? If not, we'll go on to the next part of the question, the next part of the session today. All right, I think we'll continue. So, okay, we have one more question. All right, here, the question here is by Eric Collins. And let me read the question. In your expert opinion, how likely will the government use this intervention as hook, line, and sinker for electoral votes? This is going a little bit political here. Okay, in your opinion, your expert opinion, how likely will the government use these interventions as hook, line, and sinker for electoral votes? Would anybody like to? Prof. Nick, you're laughing. You go ahead.
Megat, would you like to, or can I just
please,
answer
you
this?
start first.
Okay. This is the concern, that sometimes the government use this intervention for its own ends and to stay in power. Yeah, we have heard of this matter oftentimes. This is more political, in fact. In fact, there are many cases now under court case because of this. Even in the name of donation, it's for buying votes. But it's worrying, yes. But I just want to remind that it's not just isolated to Malaysia alone. Even in the US, it does happen. It's just that it is labeled. The label is very important. How is it labeled? Yeah. So this thing does not happen to Malaysia in isolation. It happens everywhere. But of course, that is not the the excuse. Yeah? So the government, the bureaucrats, they need to be aware that there should be a demarcating line. What is for electoral votes and what is for the good of the nation. Thank you.
All right, thanks. We also have one more question. Or Megat, would you like to respond to that first, or would you like to go to the next question first?
Yeah, just to add on a bit on that, if I may.
All right.
I absolutely understand the concern. Personally, I myself feel that there's a concern for that as well, because sometimes it can be pretty obvious that if the government intervenes, it's often because of political short-term benefits. Sometimes it could lead to a certain extent where if the government intervenes too much, it could also be involved in the business itself, which could also lead to a political, like even larger political benefit, which I completely, to my belief, I very much disagree with that. As I mentioned earlier on, government should only facilitate business, but not to an extent where it should control specific businesses. If not, you'll have risk of the fraud or corruption, and so on and so forth. So I think that's it. That's gonna be it for me.
All right, great. We have one more question, and I think this person requested the question to be answered by Prof. Nick. All right. So this question is for Prof. Nick. Okay, I can't see the full question. Let me see whether I have it on my phone. Give me a second, please. Can I have the full question? All right, let me just read halfway. From an expert point of view, do you believe in the fourth sector of the economy, the deep state? This is, I'm not sure what's the following question. Can you just give me a minute? Let me find out what's the rest of the question, the follow-up question. Okay, all right, I got the question. All right. Okay, so let me, Prof. Nick, I will read out the question from my mobile phone. Okay. So this question is for Prof. Nick. From an expert point of view, do you believe in the fourth sector of the economy, in bracket, the deep state, close bracket? Is this why we need a strong intervention from the government to curb a dominant agenda setting by this, quote unquote, interest group?
Okay. Thank you for the question, Julius. Yeah, we have the interest group. In fact, in an economy, it is not just the actors are not just the private businesses and the government. There's also the media, there's also the NGOs and the citizens group, and they all play their role. There's the media, the NGOs, the private interest group. They need to play their role because they, as I mentioned just now, it's not just the market that can fail, but government too can fail. So we need the media to censure irresponsible or to censure corruption, for example. We need a strong media. We also need the NGOs and the private interest group to play their role, so to make sure that all parties are in their toes and not, how shall I say, so that corruption do not become way of life, and that the business work towards the growth of the economy and the society. That's my take.
Great response, Prof. I think there is a response by one of the questions just now earlier by Shri. Do you remember that Shri asked the question just now in the comment, right? So she has responded. She says, let me read the complete one from my phone. Thank you for the input, Prof. But we have also seen small businesses not being able to sustain themselves due to unclear SOPs and legislation. What do you think about this?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. This is the common part was where I was trying to mention that some of these rules and regulation may not be so clear. Yeah. Some of these rules and regulation, which can be the legislation, because rules, legislation, they are made to be very open so that it can encompass many groups. So policies, legislation, they are not made for particular or made in a very distinct, very definite. Otherwise, then you will have to have so many legislation. So yes, the government need to come up with clear SOPs, clear legislation through their regulation, through their guidelines and all those. And when I say the government need to regulate, meaning that there must be as a facilitator, not as a controller. To regulate meaning to make sure that everything is balanced, in the society. The business is working towards the business work ethically, efficiently. That's my answer.
Right, great. Let's stay on with Prof, because you talk about having a balance. The government is not like a schoolmaster, controlling, but it's actually a facilitator. So, I mean, this is something that you have mentioned earlier, that the government should act as a regulator in the market. And let's look at something that's happening recently in the news about the imported non-halal chicken being repackaged and sold in the market as halal. Do you have a comment about that?
Precisely. This is a good case in point. Thank you for the question. I think you are referring to the expose in December 2020 in the news, of the activities of syndicate which smuggle in non-certified meat and sold it, repackaged it and sold it in Asia as halal products. And this has unearthed many startling revelations. In fact, the case is a good illustration of the need for the government to intervene in how we do business. It highlighted a number of factors. As I said in the beginning, left to the market alone, private businesses can operate in the most unethical manner. Even with the stringent regulations, in this case, a private business weave their ways through, and through many means. First, I understand that the syndicate was said to have offered bribes to some government bureaucrats, including those senior officials of certain agencies, as an inducement to pass inspections at the very points. In this particular case, there are already regulatory bodies in place, mainly the JAKIM, Ministry of Health, and other regulatory bodies such as Custom Department, Markis, or the Malaysian Quarantine and Inspection Services. And then there is also the legislation such as Food and Hygiene, Food and Safety Act, Food and Hygiene Regulation, Malaysian Safety Standard, and all those inspection processes all the way through until the meat reaches the end user. But you still find private business can weave their way through. So this also illustrates the problem of asymmetric information that I was talking about earlier. The information regarding business rests with the private providers, not with the government. So private providers, they can dupe the authority and the public and falsify information just to rake in huge profits. This is exactly what I was trying to say. Thank you.
That's really interesting, Prof, because at the end of the day, it is the people who will suffer if we do not have regulation in place. Yes, definitely. And majority of the people in any part of the world, the whole world, is not the 1% of the 1%. We are actually the 99%. So we need this regulation to safeguard our wealth, safeguard our children, safeguard our future. So we have come to almost the end of our session. We have spent a wonderful 60 minutes together. But the next few questions that we have is actually something related more to our university, a little bit more to our university life. Because for our viewers out there, I'm sure they'll be so interested to know, how did someone like Lisa and Megat, what made you want to study in a place like Uni Razak? Maybe we'll go with Lisa first. For what I understand, you actually have a diploma in law enforcement. That's something really interesting. And now you're doing a Bachelor of Arts, in government and public policy. Can you tell us, why did you decide to switch, from law enforcement to government and public policy? And where do you think you see yourself in the future with this degree? So just give us maybe a minute or two of your actor.
Sure. Okay. First of all, GPP, government and public policy, is something unique, and not everyone aware of this kind of course still existed. Unless even in public queue, there are GPP kind of course is limited. And from law enforcement to GPP, most of people think it's two different kind of field. But I will interrelate both. It's actually interconnect. Because GPP, as we look, is more into legislative, making laws, policies, amends. And when it comes to law enforcement, it's more to government authorities bodies who implement those laws and policies as well. So this actually both works together, and in a simple word, tally to the government. So my bonus or advantage I'll consider is that I do have both knowledge, and I can see myself either in a political place or in a government system or in a private, because this both knowledge really help us enhance and build us to be more better person, and also deliver a good service to the nation and to the citizens. That's always what I promise to myself, that instead of being a better human, I should at least serve to the nation who brought me to this place right now. And second question, what Ms. Sarah said, I'm seeing myself in future is that I'll be a successful person like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, who is a president of Liberia, in a political as well, because she's graduated as a Master of Public Admin. So yeah, I can see myself future in that, either in a government or in a private, in a successful way, and in a way of I can able to deliver to the citizen and nation what they give me. So I'm going to give back to them through the noble services. That's all.
Great, Lisa, great. Let's, before we move on to Megat, we actually have one more question. So this is really a very active session today. This question is by Cheryl Das, and it's for any of the speakers or to all the speakers. All right. The question is, what are your personal opinions on government intervention? Would you like more or less government regulation? I don't know whether everyone would like to try to attempt the question. If you try to attempt the question, maybe just give us 1 minute each, one minute opinion.
Maybe I would. Okay. I think Prof need go first.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. I think it's not regulation. I think we have enough of regulation. It is how the regulation is implemented that is also another big issue. Yeah? Sometimes you have good policies, you have good regulation, but it is not important. It is not well implemented, or it is not implemented. So students of public policy, they say that policy evaporation. The policies are there, the regulations are there. It's just a matter of implementation, how the due diligence are there or not, whether the regulators monitor or not, and if they monitor, what do they do about it? If the private businesses are found to be guilty, what happened? Yeah, so it must be seen that there must be some sanctions and punishment for non-compliance. So it's not a matter of more or less regulation. The regulations are already there. It's a matter of due diligence in implementing those regulations. Thank you.
Awesome. Megat or Lisa, do you have anything you would like to respond?
I agree with Prof. And also, government should have to be a check and balance system with their intervention. They cannot control too much. In the same time, they cannot be flexible too much as well. Because as we see, another question also they held because of the legislation and then the lack of SOP. It's all because of this. they should have a very proper and rigid kind of SOP and legislation, so that every business people able to follow till the end, so there will be no chaotic. Like recently, like some of the government authorities came up with few SOPs and additional legislation, where some of the business people doesn't even aware that this all are still, oh, is it still available, or should I apply to this license, should I do this, even a lot of things. Even like personally, my parents' business, I've encountered personal kind of things. We have to take a license for this, that. So what I suggest that government should come up with a rigid kind of SOP or legislation, anything that able for us, any business people to follow, and also they have to monitor instead of being so like controlling. So that can lead to a lot of bad things to happen.
All right, great. I just want to assume that when you say the word rigid, maybe it's not the word rigid, maybe you mean it's clear and defined, I suppose? Yeah, because I don't want our viewers to go like rigid. Oh, that is another discussion altogether. All right, great. Let's go on to the next question because it's already past a little bit of our time. Let's go to Megat. So Megat, you are a fresh graduate. I think you graduated last year, if I'm not mistaken. And I was also told that you were very involved in the university events and activities while studying. And you're very popular around the university. People can see you being active and participating and things like that. So can you tell us a little bit about where you are right now, in your career, and how do you think that studying government and policy has helped you, to be where you are?
Okay, thank you for that. Just to correct that, I was actually graduating in 2019. My career path has been pretty good so far. I started off at a government-owned enterprise, and then I quickly moved to a CSR, what we call CSR-based company. And I have to say that studying in government and public policy has definitely helped shape my worldview, economic view, even political view to a certain extent. Especially when I'm in this new company that I'm currently in, where we provide CSR programs, not just providing donations, not just providing just donations. We are also providing programs or education courses for the B40 communities. And like I've said, studying government policy has definitely helped this because it allows me to understand the economic, I guess you could say, the economic background of B40s, and if I conduct a certain program, how am I going to conduct it? And so we in this new company I'm in, we are currently going to do most likely a new white paper that focuses more on providing equality in education. So with that said, it's just gonna be very, very, very up my playing field. So yeah, definitely fit in that sense. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Great. Awesome, Megat. So wishing you all the best in your future endeavors. Now let's go now to Prof. Nick. We have our final question, and Prof. Nick, this question is not really related to the topic, but something that I think some of our viewers and potential Razak students would love to know. Maybe you can share with us a little bit about the programs that's offered here at Razak, and what can they do if they would like to? I can share with you what they can do if they want to register and things like that. But maybe you can share with our viewers today why they would love or why they should join this program.
Okay, thank you, Tara. At TARSOG, there are currently 3 bachelor degree programs that we offer. One is the Bachelor of Arts in Leadership, which you cannot find this program in other universities in Malaysia except at Razak. We also have Bachelor in Governance and Public Policy and Bachelor in Economics. And besides that, we have the Masters of Public Policy program. At TARSOG, students as you can, as evidenced just now, yeah, they are exposed to a variety of courses such as politics, sociology, economics, management, leadership, and many more. Those courses that provide them with a holistic education system. They learn about how government interact with business and other actors such as the NGOs, the students, citizenship group, the media. All these, as I mentioned just now, they are important as watchdog over the business and the government. So the curriculum and the training makes TARSOG student highly versatile, and they are at home in many conversations. I'm sure you can vouch yourself just now. Yeah, the pathways are wide. Many of our alumni are in the public sector, working in the corridors of power at Putrajaya. I would like to say that because they are as PTD officers, and that's the elite, the most elite category of public officials. As knowledge in the workings of the government is useful in both the public and the private sector. So we find that many of our graduates are also in a variety of industries, banking, financial sector, and also in the GLCs. And we also find our alumni in the political settings as special assistants to ministers, for example, and we are proud of that. And although we're small, but I'm proud to say that two of our students are Fulbright scholars. They're awarded Fulbright, and they get to spend 6 months in the US. So we hope more of our students would be awarded of such coveted award. So thank you.
That's amazing, Prof. Yeah, hearing the endless possibilities, the opportunities that students would have, and the kind of pathways that they would achieve, by joining this program. So friends, we have come to the end of our session here today. Before we end, I would like to thank Prof. Nick for sharing with us your thoughts, your opinions, your expertise. I know that as a professor, it is a busy time. You have a full schedule teaching, and of course you have other consultative work that you need to do. And to our student Lisa, and also to Megat, thank you so much for taking your time today, sharing with us your thoughts, your experiences. And to our viewers here today, I would just like to share with you that March intake for 2021 is now open. So please visit www.unirazak.edu.my to apply. You can contact us at the number below, which is at the banner here, which is 0327891599 or 01433722925. If you're a little bit shy, you can also email us at drjo, drjo@unirazak.edu.my for more detail. And before we end that, I would also like to share that if you are looking for financial assistance, don't forget that the MARA TESP and the GREP online application is now open until March 19, 2021. These are financial assistance. But you can also, if you're not sure what are these financial assistance, you can always call the number or email the address that has been given to you and ask about this financial assistance or other kind of financial assistance available at our university. The intake is now open, like as I have mentioned, and don't forget to follow us at MyUniRaza on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to MyUniRaza on our YouTube channel to find out more about the other TikTok sessions, and please stay tuned for other interesting topics. My last advice to all of you is also please keep your distance, wear your mask, wash your hands, and I hope to see you in campus one day face to face. So thank you everybody. Thank you for spending your more than 60 minutes with us. Thank you Prof. Nick, thank you Lisa and Megat. So see you again everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Miss Tara. Thank you, Prof. Nick. Thank you, Megat.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you everyone.